Alright, let's look at the rest of 4.2, the word problems. Number 25. It talks about two different types of chippers, wood chippers. And I called the amount of economy chippers E, and the number of deluxe chippers I called it D. And so this column here represents economy chippers, and this represents deluxe chippers. So now remember, each column should be the same type. These should be all econ, these should be all deluxe. And this one is assembling hours for each one. And this one is painting hours for each one. So again, paint hours plus paint hours equals total paint hours. Assembly hours plus assembly hours equals total assembly hours. Okay, so then it's just a matter of solving it like we've been doing before, and you end up with 6-4. What happens with all of these, by the way, is that there's a mathematical theorem which says that when you have an area like this, the answer is going to be at one of the corners for your max or min. And so you don't have to check all these infinitely many points, you only have to check the end points. Okay? And so that's what we did there. Okay. Now 29 talks about number of minutes on radio ads and number of minutes on TV ads. And so the number of minutes is R plus T is 80 or more minutes. Now the number of people is 0.006 million for each minute of radio, and 0.09 times T million times the 0.09 million times T, which is the amount of millions of people that see each ad on TV, for a total of 2.16 million. So this represents minutes plus minutes equals minutes. This represents millions of people plus millions of people equals millions of people. So you solve each one of these guys, and you solve each one, and you get this guy, and you got to find that corner there. It's kind of nasty, and you get that one as well. So you get 1, 2, 3 corners. You got this guy there. You plug them into the equation right here, and they want the minimum. So you choose the one that has the smallest value, which means 60 minutes of radio, 20 minutes of TV. Now 38 talks about two different types of food. Okay, and that's question 38. Two different types of food, and they have essential ingredients A, B, and C. So the amount of ingredients of A that are found in food 1 are 10. They tell you it's 10 units per gram times the number of grams. And with the food 2, it's 3 times the number of grams, which is going to give you 49 or more total units. Now B, you get 6 units per gram of food 1, so that's times X. You get 12 units per gram of food 2, so it's 12 times Y. And then it's got to be at least 60 or more units. And then C is C we didn't use. We only used A and B. We want to minimize our C. So our C is actually going to be we're using this formula for C to talk about our minimum. So C has to be 3 units of food 1 and 1 unit of food 2. So you take these two guys, you graph them, shade the right region, you got points here. Okay, and then you plug those into the equation, and you pick the one that has the smallest, which is 15. So that means 4 grams of food 1, 3 grams of food 2. Alright. 41. It's pretty obnoxious. You're talking about two different types of hot dogs, regular and all beef. So X is how many pounds of regular, and how many pounds of all beef is the Y. Okay, and so then they talk about beef, rice, spice, and pork. So each pound of all beef has 0.75 of beef, 0.2 of spice, and they say nothing about pork, so you leave it as 0. And for the regular hot dogs, they give you 0.18 of beef, 0.20 of spices, 0.30 of pork. Okay? And then they say for the beef, it's got to be a maximum of 1,020. The spices has to be 500 or more, and the pork has to be at most 600, so 600 or less. Alright, so you want to solve each one of these. Find the x-intercept, y-intercepts, okay? And then you find all the corners as well. Let me show you that first one. Okay, so here's your corner, your XY, XY, XY here, here, and here. Okay, and then this one, you're finding some of the corners. First corner, second corner, and finally the third corner. As you can see that. Third corner. Okay, and then what does this thing finally look like? This is where I'm telling you have to use a ruler and be very precise. I used a ruler to measure these guys off exactly the same number of units, and same thing here, so that when I drew my lines I could see that it actually does have a tiny little section in the middle that you intersect. What you sometimes don't know is do all of these intersect in the same place? And then you're looking at a region like this, or do they all intersect like this and you're talking about this little triangle in the middle? If you don't graph it carefully, you don't know which one it is. It turns out to be this one. But you got to use either graphing paper and a ruler. It's probably the best way to do it. If you try and do it by freehand, it's not easy to do.